What if tonight, when you're sitting there in your warm, well-lit home, everything just stops? Not for a minute, not for an hour. I'm talking gone. The hum of the fridge dead, the glow of the streetlights black, your Wi-Fi vanished, the AC, the heat, the ability to pump gas, flush toilets, buy groceries, call for help, all gone in one blip you never saw coming. Now here's the part nobody wants to admit. What if this isn't temporary? What if the lights don't come back on in a few hours? What if it's days, weeks, months? And in that silence, in that growing unease, you realize you've just joined the millions of people throughout history who learned the hard way that the modern world only works when the grid does. Sounds like doomsday paranoia? Tell that to the people in Texas who froze solid in their own homes in 2021, or the 50 million stuck in the Northeast blackout of 2003 who found out just how fast a city can turn into a trapped, sweltering cage, or the residents of Puerto Rico who spent 11 months in the dark after Hurricane Maria, nearly a year of ice scarcity, food rot, and drinking water rationing. Still think you're immune because you live in a modern city? Guess again. America's grid isn't a fortress, it's a rusting, duct-taped, overworked mess being held together by aging transformers and the hope that nothing too big hits it at once. And it's one well-aimed cyber attack, ice storm, or equipment failure away from plunging millions into the kind of darkness that doesn't care how prepared you think you are. And here's the gut punch. When that darkness comes, most people, your neighbors, your friends, maybe even you, will make the exact same boneheaded moves that turn a blackout from a survivable inconvenience into a personal disaster. I'm talking about mistakes so common, so baked into our everything-will-be-fine mentality that they've killed people in every major outage on record. We're going to break down exactly what those mistakes are, why they'll wreck you faster than the outage itself, and how to make damn sure you're not the one standing in the dark wondering where it all went wrong. You ready? Good. Because the blackout clock doesn't start when the lights go out, it starts when you make your first move. And if you make the wrong one, you might not get another. Mistake number 10. Raiding the fridge like it's your last meal on Earth. The second the lights go out, most people's first move is to wander into the kitchen and open the fridge like it's some kind of magical portal that's going to tell them how long the blackout will last. Maybe they're looking for one last snack before it spoils. Maybe it's boredom. Maybe it's panic grazing. Whatever the reason, it's one of the most self-sabotaging things you can do in the first hour of a blackout. Why? Because every time you open that fridge door, you're dumping out the last cold air you've got. Cold air that's not getting replaced until the power returns. If it does, the USDA says that a refrigerator will only keep food safe for about 4 hours without power, and a full freezer for roughly 48 hours if you keep the doors shut. Open it once, you shave hours off that safety window. Open it 5 times because you're just checking. Congratulations, you've turned 2 days of frozen food into a lukewarm science experiment. Now here's the kicker. Foodborne illness is no joke in a grid-down situation. You can't just toss spoiled food if the stores are closed and you're already rationing supplies. According to the CDC, 48 million Americans get sick from foodborne illness every year, even when refrigeration is working. Add a blackout, high heat, and no access to medical care, and suddenly that chicken salad you risked is playing Russian roulette with your intestines. And in a prolonged outage, grocery stores restock slower than you think. Hurricane Katrina saw some neighborhoods without fresh food for over a month. So every calorie you waste now is a calorie you can't get back later. The right move? Treat that fridge like Fort Knox. Tape it shut if you have to. Make a list of what's inside before the power goes out or during the first minutes if it catches you by surprise, so you're not playing the what's in here game in the dark. Eat perishable food strategically. Start with dairy, then meats, then frozen goods if it comes to that. Better yet, have a cooler and ice packs ready so you can transfer essentials without turning your fridge into a sauna. Blackouts aren't about comfort, they're about preservation. Every degree you keep that fridge colder buys you time, and time is the only luxury you can't restock at the store. Mistake number 9, lighting up the wrong way and burning down the house. Here's a grim little statistic. According to the National Fire Protection Association, candles cause more than 7,600 house fires every year in the U.S., and power outages are a prime time for those numbers to spike. Why? Because in the first moments of darkness, people grab whatever light source they can find, old scented candles, half-burned birthday candles, or even those decorative ones that have been sitting on a shelf collecting dust for a decade. Sounds cozy until you realize you just placed a naked flame next to flammable curtains, paper stacks, or my personal favorite, on top of the television set for stability. one bump from the dog, one kid running through the room, and suddenly, you're not dealing with a blackout anymore, you're dealing with a full-blown structure fire with no guarantee the fire department can respond quickly if the entire neighborhood is also dark. And it's not just the fire risk. Candles put out weak, uneven light compared to LED lanterns or headlamps, meaning you're more likely to trip, spill, or break something. Plus, in a prolonged blackout, you're talking about hours or days of open flames around pets, kids, or your own half-asleep self. The 2003 Northeast blackout saw multiple fatalities from candle-related fires. Yes, people survived the outage but lost their homes because they underestimated how dangerous just one candle could be. The better alternative, modern blackout lighting tech, is ridiculously efficient. LED lanterns can run for 100+ hours on a single set of batteries. Headlamps free up your hands and direct light exactly where you need it. Solar lights, the kind you stick in your garden, can be charged during the day and brought inside at night. Even a crank-powered flashlight means no risk of running out of batteries. Keep these in multiple rooms so you're never tempted to fumble with matches in the dark. If you must use candles, set them on a non-flammable base, keep them away from high-traffic areas, and never leave them unattended. In a blackout, your goal is to keep the lights on, not to add your own to the skyline in the form of a blaze visible from 3 blocks away. Mistake number 8, treating the blackout like an accidental vacation. Here's the trap. The lights go out, you grab a beer, you flop on the couch, and you tell yourself, well, I guess I'll just chill until it comes back. You light a couple candles, scroll your phone, maybe even open the windows to enjoy the breeze. And for the first hour, it does feel like a weird little break from life. No emails, no work calls, no obligations. But here's the problem. The blackout clock is ticking, and every second you spend pretending it's a lazy Sunday is a second you're not using to prepare for what might be coming. The average American household has about 3 days of food on hand, most of it dependent on refrigeration. The average city has just 3 to 5 days of food in its supply chain before stores start running bare. If the outage stretches beyond a few hours, you're going to wish you spent that vacation hour locking down your resources, securing your home, and getting in touch with your local situation reports. The psychological danger is complacency. In disaster psychology, there's something called normalcy bias, the human tendency to believe that things will always work out the way they usually do. That bias is exactly why so many people in New Orleans stayed home during Katrina until the flooding was literally at their doorstep. In a blackout, that means ignoring the chance that this isn't just a storm-related hiccup. It could be infrastructure failure, cyber attack, or cascading grid collapse. And once panic sets in, the rush on gas stations, ATMs, and grocery stores will make COVID-era toilet paper runs look like a polite shopping trip. Instead of slipping into vacation mode, treat the first hour of darkness as your most valuable prep window. Fill every container in the house with water. Charge every device and battery bank. Check your pantry and move critical perishables into the coldest part of the freezer. Touch base with family or neighbors so you know who might need help if this drags on. This isn't about paranoia, it's about pivoting from passive to proactive before circumstances take that choice away. Because in a prolonged blackout, the people who survive comfortably aren't the ones who waited to see. They're the ones who worked like the grid was never coming back, and then got to relax when it did. Mistake number 7, draining your generator like you're powering a rock concert. When the grid goes down, a generator can feel like the ultimate trump card, a mechanical middle finger to the blackout. Fire it up, plug in the fridge, maybe even the TV, and suddenly you're living better than half your neighbors. But here's where people tank their own survival. They run that generator like they've got an infinite supply of fuel. They keep it going all night to power things they don't even need, like the coffee maker or the decorative aquarium lights. They treat it like a substitute for the grid instead of what it actually is, a bridge to help you preserve essentials until power returns, or until you can resupply. Let's talk numbers. A typical 5,000-watt portable generator burns about 0.75 gallons of gas per hour under a moderate load. Run it 24 hours straight, that's 18 gallons a day, more than most people keep on hand even if they prepped. And here's the bad news. During widespread outages, gas stations can't pump without power. Even if they have backup generators themselves, supply lines dry up fast. After Hurricane Sandy, New Yorkers waited up to 6 hours in lines that stretched for blocks if the station still had fuel left. So that precious gas you're burning for mood lighting and late-night Netflix, that's survival capital you might desperately need in 48 hours. And that's before we get into the safety mistakes. The CDC reports that generator-related carbon monoxide poisoning kills dozens of people every year in the U.S., almost always because they ran them too close to living spaces or even inside garages with the door open. You can't see or smell CO. It builds silently, knocks you unconscious, and finishes you off without warning. Combine that with fuel storage mistakes, like keeping gas in open containers or next to heat sources, and you've just turned your lifeline into a death trap. The smart play: run your generator in scheduled bursts, enough to keep the fridge cold, charge devices and run essentials like a sump pump. Store fuel safely in approved containers, away from your living space, and rotate it regularly so it doesn't go stale. Invest in extension cords and power strips so you can maximize each runtime without overloading the unit. A generator is not a lifestyle, it's a ration tool. Treat it like one, and you won't be the guy explaining to a news crew why you burned through your last gallon keeping your beer frosty while your freezer full of meat turned to soup. Mistake number 6, leaving your windows and doors like you're broadcasting free stuff inside. In the calm before the chaos, people forget that blackouts change more than just the inside of your house. They change the behavior outside it too. No streetlights, no security systems, no cameras, no alarm monitoring. For the first time in years, entire neighborhoods can be cloaked in total darkness, and yet one of the most common mistakes is leaving doors unlocked, windows cracked for airflow, or blinds wide open like it's just another summer evening. In normal times, that's careless. In a blackout, it's practically an invitation. Criminology data backs this up. During the 1977 New York City blackout, looting and arson erupted within hours, 1,600 stores were damaged, and over 3,700 people were arrested in a single night. Was every blackout going to look like NYC in '77? No, but the principle is the same. Darkness creates cover, and desperation makes people bold. Even in smaller outages, petty theft, burglary, and vandalism spike because visibility and deterrence vanish. And in modern cities, a lot of people rely on doorbell cameras and motion lights as their only security. In a prolonged outage, those go down with everything else, and you're back to 19th century defenses, locks, dogs, and neighbors who keep an eye out. The mistake here isn't just failing to secure the perimeter, it's assuming your neighborhood will behave exactly the same in the dark as it does in daylight. That's normalcy bias again, and it's dangerous. You can't predict how strangers, or even people you vaguely know, will act when resources get scarce and there's no immediate police presence. What should you do? The moment the lights go out, lock every door and window, even ones you think are inaccessible. Close curtains or blinds to prevent outsiders from seeing inside, especially any light sources you're using. If you have battery-powered motion lights, position them at entry points. Keep a flashlight or headlamp within arm's reach in every major room so you're not stumbling if you need to move quickly. And most importantly, build a relationship with your neighbors before disaster strikes. In every major blackout case study, the safest blocks were the ones where residents already had an informal watch system. In the dark, community isn't just nice, it's security. Mistake number 5, burning through batteries like they're Halloween candy. The second the lights cut out, most people instinctively grab every battery-powered gadget in the house, flashlights, radios, maybe even that old portable DVD player they forgot they owned, and start running them full blast. The living room glows like a Best Buy display wall while they wander from room to room, leaving lights on just in case. Problem is, in a prolonged blackout, batteries are a finite, non-renewable lifeline, and most folks burn through them in the first 24 hours without a second thought. Once they're gone, unless you're ready to stand in a 2-hour line at the one open hardware store, praying they still have the right size in stock. Here's the ugly math. An average LED flashlight burns through a set of AA batteries in about 6-8 hours of continuous use. LED lanterns can last longer, but crank them to max brightness and you're cutting their life in half. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, recommends keeping enough batteries for at least 72 hours of sustained use, yet surveys show that fewer than 15% of U.S. households actually meet that threshold, and when disaster hits, batteries are among the first items to disappear from store shelves. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, entire cities sold out of AA, AAA, D, and 9V batteries within hours. The fix isn't complicated, but it requires discipline. First, control your usage. Use task lighting, not flood lighting. Keep one lantern in a central room and move with a headlamp or small flashlight rather than lighting up the whole house. Second, diversify your power sources. Solar lanterns, crank-powered flashlights, and rechargeable battery packs can extend your lighting without eating through disposables. Third, store your batteries correctly in a cool, dry place and rotate stock so you're not relying on a corroded pack from 2016. And here's a pro tip: tape a spare set directly to each device so you're never scrambling for replacements in the dark. In a blackout, light isn't just comfort, it's safety. Burn through your reserves too fast, and you'll find yourself in the worst kind of darkness, the kind you can't do anything about. Mistake number 4, forgetting that refrigeration is a one-way clock. One of the biggest blind spots people have in a blackout is misunderstanding just how fast perishable food becomes unsafe. They figure the fridge is still cold, so it must be fine, and keep opening the door to grab drinks, snacks, and that leftover takeout from 2 nights ago. But here's the hard truth. The moment power dies, you're on a countdown clock that doesn't stop until the grid comes back or your food spoils. According to the USDA, perishable food kept above 40 FF for more than 2 hours enters the danger zone, where bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli can multiply to dangerous levels. You can't smell it, you can't see it, but it can ruin your week or worse. In major blackouts, this turns into a public health nightmare. After Hurricane Katrina, thousands of cases of food poisoning were reported in shelters and homes because people kept eating meat, dairy, and seafood that had warmed up without realizing it. In Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, the problem got so bad that health officials ran radio PSAs begging people to throw away suspicious food even if it looked fine. And here's the kicker. In an extended outage, you can't just replace spoiled food easily. Grocery stores may not reopen for days, and when they do, refrigerated sections are often gutted. The smart approach? The second the power goes out, consolidate perishable items into the coldest part of the fridge and freezer, and avoid opening them unless absolutely necessary. Use a fridge-freezer thermometer so you know exactly when you've crossed the safety threshold. Eat perishables strategically. Start with the most temperature-sensitive foods, then move to frozen goods before they thaw completely. And have a cooler, with ice or frozen water bottles ready, so you can transfer essentials without killing your fridges remaining cold. In a prolonged outage, refrigeration is a race against time, and the people who win are the ones who treat it like one. Mistake number 3. Cooking indoors with outdoor equipment. It happens every time there's a blackout. Someone decides they're going to get creative with meal prep and hauls a charcoal grill, propane stove or campfire setup into the garage, basement, or even the kitchen to keep the heat in. It feels logical. You want to conserve warmth, and hey, people cook indoors all the time, right? Wrong. What you're actually doing is turning your home into a sealed gas chamber. Charcoal, propane, and wood-burning stoves produce carbon monoxide (CO), an odorless, colorless gas that can kill you before you even realize there's a problem. The CDC estimates that portable generators, grills, and similar equipment are responsible for over 400 accidental CO deaths annually in the US and thousands more hospitalizations. In the days after major outages, ERs see a spike in CO poisoning cases, almost all from people using outdoor gear indoors. And the danger isn't just to you. CO can seep through walls and vents, putting neighbors or upstairs tenants at risk too. During the 2021 Texas freeze, multiple entire families died in their sleep after running charcoal grills in enclosed spaces to stay warm. Fire risk is another factor. Open flames plus confined spaces and flammable materials make for a deadly combination when emergency response times are already delayed. If you're cooking with fuel-burning equipment, it stays outside, at least 20 feet from doors, windows, and vents. Have a battery-powered CO detector in your home, especially if you plan to run any fuel-based heating or cooking systems. Better yet, invest in backup cooking gear that's safe for indoor use, like canned heat, sterno, alcohol stoves, or electric hot plates you can run off a generator or battery bank in short bursts. Blackouts are stressful enough without adding accidental self-poisoning to the list. Cook smart, stay alive, and save the campfire cooking for when you're actually camping. Mistake number 2, ignoring temperature control until it's too late. One of the sneakiest threats in a blackout isn't the darkness, it's the temperature. Most people think, it's fine, the house will stay the same for a while, and they don't do anything about heating or cooling until they're already shivering or sweating buckets. By then you've lost the easiest window to stabilize your indoor environment. Without active climate control, your home's temperature starts drifting toward whatever's outside. In summer heat waves, that can mean climbing into triple digits indoors. In winter storms, it can drop below freezing in less than a day. And those shifts aren't just uncomfortable, they can be deadly. During the 2021 Texas freeze, over 240 people died, many from hypothermia inside their own homes. In the 1995 Chicago heat wave, more than 700 people died in less than a week, many of them elderly and living alone. The big mistake is doing nothing in those critical first hours. People open windows in winter for fresh air, or fail to close blinds in summer, letting precious heat escape or solar heat pour in. They wait to gather blankets or set up fans until the house is already miserable. And once it reaches that point, you're fighting a losing battle without huge amounts of fuel or battery power. Here's the move. The moment the power drops, think insulation. Close all curtains and blinds. Heavy blankets or aluminum foil on windows can slow heat loss in winter or block heat gain in summer. In the cold, confine your living space. Pick 1 or 2 rooms and seal them off with blankets, towels, or even plastic sheeting over doorways. Use body heat candles safely and layered clothing to maintain warmth. In the heat, focus on airflow. Use battery-powered fans, keep shades drawn, and if it's cooler outside at night, open windows only then, closing them early in the morning to trap cooler air. Remember, controlling temperature isn't about comfort, it's about survival.
Your body can only tolerate extreme cold or heat for so long before the effects become irreversible. The smart ones act immediately before the walls themselves start working against them. Mistake number 1. Treating the first hour like free time instead of your only head start. If there's one fatal flaw that unites blackout rookies across the board, it's this: wasting the first hour. That's the golden window, the only time you have guaranteed light, daylight, relatively calm conditions, and access to resources before panic kicks in. And yet most people burn it doing absolutely nothing productive. They light candles for ambiance, scroll through their phones, or stand at the window like it's going to give them answers. They think, well, I'll get ready if it lasts more than a couple hours. Newsflash: by the time you decide to get ready, everyone else has already cleaned the shelves at the grocery store, drained the gas pumps, and snatched up the last bags of ice. History shows it happens fast. In the 2003 Northeast blackout, within 3 hours of the grid going down, major cities were seeing traffic gridlock, store shortages, and ATM failures. In Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, water lines at distribution points were measured in miles within the first day. And remember, you can't rely on credit or debit when the power's out. Cash becomes king, and most people don't have enough on hand to matter. The solution is simple but urgent. The second the lights go out, act like you won't have them back for 72 hours minimum. Fill every container with water, sinks, bathtubs, buckets, pitchers. Charge every device and battery pack. Cook or eat perishables that won't survive without refrigeration. Check on vulnerable neighbors or family members before roads and lines get clogged. If you need extra supplies, get them immediately, not in 2 hours when the whole neighborhood has the same idea. That first hour is the difference between being in control and being in crisis. Use it well and you're ahead of 90% of people around you. Waste it and you're just another flashlight-wielding shopper in a store that ran out of bread half an hour ago. In a blackout, you don't get bonus points for patience. You win by moving first.